Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're in the other studio today, so if there's still a little bit of echo, trying to get that fixed. Don't have all the furniture yet, because people are always
Working
coming
on it.
like, I hear an echo. I'm like, I just got done telling you there's a freaking echo.
Yeah, I don't understand why it echoes so much in here. But anyway.
Anyway, we're going to talk about Mulan and what I think is a big steaming pile of mushu that supposedly, allegedly maybe, Mulan made a ton of money, despite the fact that we've heard many people said that it actually the downloads were soft, that both Hong Kong and mainland China hate this movie, that a lot of people don't like this movie, and there's been all kinds of backlash because of them filming it near concentration camps.
Well, just like there was sold out theaters for Captain Marvel with all the empty seats.
Yeah, so I think this is about Mickey's three-fingered Monty, where we have to, because remember, we made such a big deal. We made such a big deal about Mulan to the investors last earnings call. So we've got another earnings call coming up here pretty soon. We're actually getting close to the end of Disney's fiscal year. Okay, which is the end of this month is actually the end of Disney's fiscal year. So they're going to have to be like, oh, look, guys, Mulan did great. Just take our word for it. Mulan's doing fantastic. It's all good.
Well, they're claiming that it did more downloads than Hamilton did. It was more popular than Hamilton on the weekend.
Bullshit. You have to pay $30 for it. Most people are complaining. They're like, yeah, we know it's coming in November,
Yeah, it's coming in December.
Yeah, it's coming in December.
We're
not paying $30 for it. Bullshit. I call it bullshit.
I mean, for a family that was going to go anyway, it's a good deal. But if you're just like one person, that's one or two people, that's way more than you pay.
So many people on Twitter and so many people, now we run a Disney blog too, unbiased, very blunt Disney blog, but a lot of people are like, I'm not paying it. I'm not paying for it. We'll wait till it comes out. So I'm like, where is this 30% of people supposedly downloaded Mulan?
30% of people in general, 30% of people that were
Disney
Disney
Plus subscribers.
Well, that's not saying much because of the
That's
Disney.
a third.
Disney Plus subscribers aren't that many. Like there's like what they say, there's like 50 million now.
Yeah, but still,
that's across many markets, many countries. This one was released in several markets. But these are also people that were saying that these were all paid subscribers. Yeah, and if you got it for free with your Verizon or whatever, yeah, Verizon still paid for that subscription. So a whole bunch of these were, they said like 20-30% of the people that had Disney Plus were the ones got it for free.
Yeah, so this is coming from a third party. We're going to talk about this. I think this is fishy. I think this is really fishy. Hat tip to Becky Womack, who sends us some good stuff sometimes.
Hey, Becky.
And she said that, data. Disney scored big financial windfall with Mulan, according to data, not Star Trek data. That would be kind of funny, though. This is coming from, I don't know where this is coming from, Yahoo Finance. Disney Plus scored big financial windfall with Mulan's streaming release.
It's at a calculated risk. My foot.
According to exclusive figures provided by analytics research firm 7 Park Data, which is actually for hire, 29% of U.S. households that subscribe to Disney Plus purchased the $30 Mulan film through September 12th.
Okay, well, first of all, you have to understand, 29% of the U.S. households that subscribe. So there's not, when you break down how many U.S. households there are compared to how many people subscribe, that's right there, you're going to get a small number. But they're going to spin it in the best way possible. So a third of the people that subscribe in the U.S. households, not in their entire market.
Not globally.
So they might have we'll be nice and say if they had 30 million subs in the U.S., they're saying 10 million did it.
They said, they're not telling you. They said assuming U.S. households make up 50%.
And I just assumed that they made it.
I
gave them credit for having more than that.
Yeah, so this scenario, net profits would pile up to be $261 million for U.S. markets alone, if that is true. But they're not telling you exactly how many downloads. This is Disney magic, guys. This is what Disney does. And they probably hired this firm. I don't know for sure.
They do stuff like that.
But they probably hired this firm to put this information out there ahead of the end of the year. So when the investors are looking at it, they're like, God, this is dismal. This is absolutely dire. But wait, Mulan did really okay according to Yahoo. So maybe this isn't a bust after all. Maybe
Please don't drop
hope.
our stocks.
Yeah, please don't drop our stocks here.
No, do I think it did, okay? I'm sure it did. But they are really, really, really reaching on how they're presenting the numbers. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so they said consumer spending on the app spiked 193%. Sensor found, which can be attributed to customers paying the one-time Mulan access fee.
A lot of people don't want to pay that though, because basically how this is working for the access fee, you're not actually buying the film. You're buying the film as long as you continue your Disney Plus subscription. So it's actually costing you $30 plus the whatever monthly fees, because as soon as you leave Disney Plus, you lose that $30 purchase. It's not like you got to keep the movie. You don't get to. If you quit Disney Plus, you lose it. Now come December, everybody's going to get a Disney Plus for their regular subscription fee.
Now, here's the thing. Just assuming that they made $261 million, that's still not good for the cost of the movie. Mulan was a $200 million movie.
And that doesn't count like all the stuff they spent promoting it and then
Marketing
they got canceled.
And
postponed repeatedly.
Oh, yeah. So look, there's just no way they're coming out ahead on Mulan. I mean, they probably have 600, 700 million tied up in this damn thing between multiple marketing
They're not going
campaigns.
to tell you that.
They're not going to tell you that. They're gonna give you the numbers that look the best. And again, this is Disney magic. We know how that works. They never release numbers that make them look bad.
Here's a question too. They said Mulan. But they aren't saying, okay, they have it just Mulan, but you know what else is just called Mulan? The animated version.
Oh.
So in that Mulan, or is that only the new Mulan?
I'm assuming.
Or is that they mixing the two because they're technically both Mulan?
I get. You know what? That sounds ridiculous. I can see Disney doing that. They're like, well, it's all Mulan. Mulan 2's Mulan, and the making of Mulan's Mulan related media. Just like
they're both called Mulan.
I know, right? Just how Warner did it with the DC Fandom. Well, DC Fandom reached how many millions of people? And then if you read the fine print, it was like they were also including any YouTubers that talked about it in any
all the hits
capacity.
they got.
And all the hits they got. So even us, our channel, talking about fandom, probably our numbers got rolled into the Warner Media's. That's a really good question. I don't know. So, I mean, do I think a lot of people download it? Yeah. Do I think they're going to make their money back? No. Do I think it was, again, they're not saying.
They're going to lose a lot on it? Probably not. I don't know. It might.
I mean, I want to see numbers. Exactly. But it's how many people
they're not going to tell you that. But you know what? I guess what you'd be looking at it this way. When you consider all the billions they're losing on the parks, this is a drop in the bucket.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you're comparing apples to apples. They're not losing much.
Yeah. So that's just it. And they were talking about this in the Hollywood Reporter and stuff too. They were talking about how they heard early on that the downloads were soft. And all of a sudden, here comes Disney, like, trying to correct. So,
like I said, Captain Marvel sold out theaters.
Right. So we have, the media, including the Hollywood Reporter, talking about the soft downloads. We've got all the backlash because of them, filming it near a concentration camp and all this other stuff going on with Mulan. And all of a sudden, here comes this big story of like, whoa, nearly, potentially, possibly, maybe, almost half, maybe, of U.S.
30%. For 30% of U.S. Like I said, 60 million or 50 or 60, I think, was it 50 something million subscribers? We'll say 60 to be fair, to give it a little bit of extra. 60 million across all the markets they're released in, all globally. And you need to figure half of it being U.S., which I don't think probably half is U.S., but we'll be nice and say 30,000 is U.S. So of that 30,000, 10,000 people, 10,000 or 10 million, 30 million. Of the 30 million, 10 million families downloaded it.
Yeah, $30 a pop. So I mean, it adds up.
But I'm just like, I still don't buy it.
Yeah, no, this is spin.
Because I don't know. I guess it's all subjective in how you actually break down the information. If you look at it on the surface level, it looks one way, but when you start taking it apart, it's like, well, wait a minute.
Well, I know. Again, I'm just going by social media. A lot of people were like, they're either boycotting it because they're unhappy with it for whatever reason. A lot of people said they were just going to wait. They're like, well, it's coming for free in December anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Very few people I talked to anyway. And even the people I follow on Twitter and stuff, they're like, they just said they're waiting. Very few people said that, yes, I paid $30 for this movie. Even the comments on our YouTube videos are like, I'm not paying it. I'm not, thanks for paying it, but I'm not paying it.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't know. This is very, very suspect. Very suspect. But then, immediately after we have, this is actually before. So this probably prompted Disney to put out some kind of a study to make it look good to save face. Hollywood's two biggest releases flopped. And they're talking about Tenet and Mulan because, a lot of theaters aren't open. Mm-hmm. They're just not open. They're talking about how they were made like, $200, $300 million when they should have broken $1 billion.
Mulan was doing that well. So well, they're like, oh, thank God, it's saving us. Why then are they taking Black Widow and just pushing it back further instead of just releasing it on Disney Plus? Because if it turns out they're making so much money doing it on Disney Plus and all these households are buying it, why not just put them all on Disney Plus for now until you can get the theaters up? You know what I'm saying?
Well, here they had, so this is an interview that they had. They're talking to, let's see, who are they talking to here? Matt Belloni, KCRW contributor, former editorial director at The Hollywood Reporter. He said, how many people were willing to buy this movie? And this is right before that.
The movie you don't actually get to keep unless you pay your subscription fee every month.
Yeah, it's a very well-guarded secret because Disney has not released.
They're not going to.
It was a very unique release strategy because it wasn't available on Disney Plus, their streaming service for regular customers. You had to be a subscriber, and then on top of that, you had to pay $30. So that's a pretty high bar. And some of the analysts have speculated that because it was fluctuating among the top 10, it wasn't by far the number one release last weekend, according to the Disney metric.
No, people mentioned that. They mentioned that because they were talking about the fact that it was not number one. It took like 3 or 4 days for it to hit number one on Disney Plus. Like it was not number one until days later. And who says Disney can't buy it themselves like people would buy their own books?
I was just thinking that. I was like, Disney could theoretically...
Marketing expense.
It's their platform. They could bump it up to number one. Say, look at how good Mulan's doing, investors. Mulan's doing great. Don't pay any attention to that concentration camp stuff. Mulan's fine. It's all fine here. What we do know is that the film was supposed to be a big hit in China. We're going to talk about that. It did not do well. And part of the rationale for spending as much money as they did, over $200 million, that's one of the most expensive, is the most expensive princess remake. I mean, we're talking like Star Wars budget here, MCU budget, was because the China market was supposed to be robust. It opened there and did not do well. It opened on the low end of expectations, around 20-something million. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Chinese viewers didn't like it. This movie was designed for China.
Committee, they took stuff out. Allegedly took stuff out of the film to make it the more meet what was it CCP? Was that the
CCP?
Make it meet what their expectations were.
Yeah, so they basically, it was Disney was working for the CCP at this point. They're like, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? And it literally was that South Park episode banned in China in real life.
And they said, yeah. And then what it failed, they keep saying it failed, was because it didn't understand the Chinese culture. I was like, oh my God. It's like all Chinese actors or Chinese American actors. They went in and had groups come in and look at it, tell them what they couldn't do, followed all their guidelines. At the end of the day, people were mad because it didn't understand Chinese culture.
Yeah, I mean, God. Well, and then they had a much better Mulan movie come out just like 10 or 12 years ago.
And the animated version was still better, too.
It's still better, It is. It was actually Mulan in the animated version felt like a more three-dimensional character in the 2D animated version than she did in real life.
And in that one, she had to learn and do it on her own merit, not because she had magic fighting chi powers.
Magic fighting chi powers. I guess the Chinese were really pissed off about that. They're like, that's not how chi works. It's like, that's not how the Force works.
I know, right?
She had the Force.
It's Disney. They can do whatever.
So, only $28 million since its opening weekend.
Wow.
Poor artistic level, misunderstanding of Chinese culture. Chinese critics, both at home and abroad, said they were disappointed with the film's inaccurate and stereotypical portrayals of Chinese history and the main character infused with nationalist tropes. And then they got the history and the buildings and all that wrong. That'd be like, if China produced a movie that for quote unquote Western audiences, it was like the Civil War and the Revolutionary War all happening at the same time. Because they didn't understand.
But buildings from when the pioneers were here.
Yeah, right. Living in log cabins next to skyscrapers or something.
Even though I still stand by the whole round building. I was like, why they probably doing that so they can use the film again in circle vision for the reflections of China or whatever.
Always an ulterior motive. But and then Hong Kong, of course, they're not real happy with it. So this movie wound up being for nobody. I do not believe, just to bring it back to I do not believe that it made gonzo money, and Disney is not going to release it. They'll just be like, we were pleased. What does that mean? And they need to have...
They never tell you what it means.
Their investors need to hold their feet to the fire, and they need to be like, you were pleased. Give us numbers.
They won't. They will not give numbers.
What does that mean? It just means like we didn't get our asses beat as badly as we thought we would. But yeah, they were banking on Mulan to save them, and she wasn't a girl worth fighting for. All right. So we're going to wrap this one up?
Yep.
Okay, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.